The plane was already cruising at 30,000 feet when the first strange sound echoed through the cabin. A deep metallic thud that felt less like turbulence and more like something heavy shifting beneath the floor. Yet most passengers ignored it, lost in movies, sleep, or quiet conversations, unaware that their peaceful journey was about to turn into a nightmare beyond imagination. Because no one expects true horror to strike in the sky, especially not from something that should never leave the depths of a jungle. Just hours earlier, the aircraft had departed from a remote airport near dense rainforest, a place surrounded by rivers, fog, and wildlife so ancient it felt untouched by time. And while the loading crew rushed cargo into the hold, no one noticed the damaged container or the massive living presence curled tightly in darkness. Silent and patient, its cold body pressed against steel walls as engines roared to life. As the plane climbed higher, the cabin lights dimmed and the seatbelt sign turned off. Flight attendants, moving calmly down the aisles, smiling as if nothing could go wrong at this altitude. Yet in the cockpit, the pilots noticed something unusual, a slight imbalance, warning that came and went, dismissed as a sensor error. Because the skies were clear, and the aircraft responded normally. But far below the passengers' feet, something enormous was slowly waking up, confused by vibration, pressure, and noise, its instincts screaming that it was trapped. The first real sign of danger came when a flight attendant in the rear galley heard a low hissing sound rising from beneath the floor panels. A sound that didn't belong to any machine, sending a chill through her spine as another heavy shook the aircraft, strong enough for nearby passengers to look around in concern. Suddenly, warning lights flashed in the cockpit as the cargo temperature spiked and pressure readings fluctuated. And before anyone could react, a violent impact rocked the plane. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, and screams filled the cabin as the aircraft shuddered violently. Because something massive had torn free inside the cargo hold, crushing metal containers like toys, its muscular body coiling and uncoiling with unstoppable force. In the chaos, a crew member sent to investigate opened the access panel and froze in terror, coming face to face with a giant anaconda, its body thicker than a human torso, eyes cold and unblinking, scales scraping against steel as it pushed forward, each movement bending the aircraft's structure. A creature that should never exist at this altitude, let alone inside a passenger plane. Panic spread instantly as passengers cried, prayed, and clutched their seats. The cabin filled with the sound of alarms and crying children, while the pilots fought to maintain control, declaring an emergency and beginning a rapid descent, knowing that if the fuselage was breached any further, the entire plane could be lost. Yet the Anaconda continued its rampage, driven by fear and confusion, smashing into walls, its sheer strength threatening to tear the aircraft apart. Flight attendants, despite their terror, worked desperately to keep passengers calm, blocking off sections of the cabin, using fire extinguishers and noise to push the creature back, every second feeling like an eternity as the plane dropped thousands of feet. Engines straining, metal groaning, the sky itself seeming to close in on them. In one final desperate move, the crew sealed the cargo access and shifted weight, forcing the Anaconda back into a confined section as the aircraft descended through thick clouds, the turbulence violent, the fear overwhelming, until at last the plane broke through and touched down hard on an emergency runway, skidding to a stop amid smoke and sirens. Passengers stumbled out in shock, some crying, some silent, unable to fully understand what they had survived, while authorities quickly surrounded the aircraft and sealed it off, offering no explanations beyond mechanical failure. Yet those who heard the hissing, who felt the crushing blows, knew the truth. Official reports never mentioned a giant snake, and the incident quietly disappeared from the news, but the survivors would never forget that flight because they learned something terrifying that day, that even at 30,000 feet, far above the jungle, true horror can still find you.